Hi, I'm Jessica Kramer. I'm going to be going over my reflection of the lesson plan that we made as a group. We did ours on Ruby Bridges, and it was the day 6 of our like understanding by design unit plan that we had created before. We were focusing on, in general, kind of just like how what our essential questions I feel like answer that, like what we are focusing on. How has a nation been shaped by various individuals and events, and what are the causes and consequences of injustice in society, past and present? So on day 6, we were focusing on Ruby Bridges. We decided that we wanted to split up our unit into three separate sections based on different activists. And another thing that we're focusing on is like how activists play a role in creating change and things like that. So our first activist that we focused on was, or maybe not first, but one of the activists we focused on was Ruby Bridges. And we really wanted to incorporate a letter into our lesson plan because it just felt like it was something that would be really great. Like, really, like, what is the word? I'm sorry. When there's like multiple contents into one, like content areas into one. And so we were able to incorporate teaching how to write a letter within this lesson of also learning about Ruby Bridges' like first day of school and how her experience, and even though it was so tough and so hard for her, she stuck it out and she went through and she decided to go all the way, and then the changes that came from that. And that's what we were really trying to focus on. And so within this, some of the main understandings that we wanted them to take away are just those ideas that activists play a major role in change in society, and that without many activists we wouldn't be where we are because there aren't people fighting the wrong structures in our country. We also really wanted them to take away just the idea of like, this is what it actually used to be like and this is what it's like now, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's perfect, but there are some things that are still wrong with our education system or our society, and we kind of want them to try to pick those out as well. Our assessments. So we decided that our major assessment for this lesson in particular was going to be reading that letter. And so just being able to look at the letter and see not only like how well they wrote it and their punctuation and grammar and all of that, but also just the content of it. Because a big thing in it was that we wanted them, one of our objectives was to inform Ruby on how the school conditions are similar and different to conditions now, and our language objection was they will be able to point out at least 2 major impacts and how they're different. So how Ruby went to a school where only white students were allowed at the time, but then she was the first African American student, and maybe that's a major difference. Maybe in their school it's all African American students, and maybe there's not a lot of like Caucasian or white students, and or maybe just something else that they can think of. There's other topics, and maybe even just how, I don't know, I can't think of something off the top of my head, sorry. But so that's some of the big things that we want them. We felt that we wanted to make sure that to add a Venn diagram into this because it would be a good like anchor, because it's on an anchor chart, for them to go back to see the similarities and differences, and to not only like not have to like memorize them completely. Like we read, there's 2 books that we have read through the unit. There was one the day before, and then the same one, and then the one that we read on this day of our lesson plan, it was actually written by Ruby Bridges, which I thought was so cool. And so we really just wanted to make sure that they were able to engage with the content and really like have a group discussion on like what's right and wrong, and like the differences that she had to go through, but like also what's a little similar, because there are some similarities, like not a lot, but there are some things that happened then that are still happening today, and we want to see what the students are seeing. I think a big success of this lesson would be that there's going to be, in my mind, like, I love like the child brain. Like I just love the things that they think about. So the first thing I think of is like, what are those things that they're going to see that even I have like never seen? Like what are those similarities that are in our current modern day that that I'm not experiencing because I'm a middle class white woman, and you know, I don't live the same life that they do, and I am always really interested on their point of view and just like the things that they're seeing in the world and how maybe they think they can go about making a change. I think a challenge would be, it was mentioned during the presentation that this lesson might be more than just one day, and I definitely, after thinking about it and hearing the reasonings and everybody's ideas, I definitely agree with that. I almost, like, personally feel like this lesson could be turned into the unit plan. Like, we could have absolutely made the final assessment for the unit plan being writing a letter to one of the 3 activists that we chose and explaining, like, the impact that the activists had, the impact that maybe another activist that they didn't get to meet had, maybe just impact of, like, this is what all of these people have done, and that you're one of those people and you've made these changes, and writing a letter, because writing a letter is definitely a skill that it takes more than just like one sit down lesson to work on. I think that's probably the biggest change I would make. There's like maybe a few little small things. There's definitely some phrasing in here that has to be changed and things like that. But I think if I was going to change anything, it would be how quickly the lesson is taught. It's definitely not like a one and done type of thing. I think it could be really impactful, and I really agree with what was said at the presentation. It could be really impactful being a couple of days, or honestly even like the unit. I think that'd be really great to just really incorporate it as a unit lesson. Thank you so much.